BoxBox Hub is an absolute essential for any Formula One fan, and the entire app with new widgets, statistics, localized race schedules, and countdowns, you name it. They even have support for Apple's new live activities feature with real-time updates during a race right on the lock screen, and honestly, some of the best looking widgets I've seen.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are here for Silver. It is round 10 of the Silver Season 7 season. Say that quickly, but we are welcoming ourselves and the grid to the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix round 10 of the season. Usually a familiar favourite, or a familiar, I'm not sure a favourite, of a familiar face, a familiar track then for the final round of the season. But of course we've got a bit of a mixed up calendar this one, or this season that is. So we have got Abu Dhabi right in the middle then at round 10. So there you go. Well, not right in the middle actually, it's only 17 rounds this season, the shortest season of ALR. And yeah, I think that's just thanks to the game coming out early next year, so we'll have to wait and see how that's going to fare. But we are ready to get going here in qualifying then for the seventh season of Silver, and we're getting the drivers in all ready to line up then and ready to get going here on the grid. Then I think we've got plotters or platters or Plitters, I don't know how you want to pronounce it. He is in the AlphaTauri then in place of TK, I think, who's off getting finances and stuff sorted for big adult purchases and whatnot. So yeah, fair play. And I think we've got Sweet MGP, who was I think he did say in the chat earlier that he was going to be a bit late. Then hopefully, well, he hasn't joined unfortunately. So hopefully Kaz can take his place. And Maglox has retired in the pit lane. He has a quali ban here tonight. Then the championship leader then can be starting from the back of the order then in this Grand Prix as we get our first driver out on track. I think it's a Ferrari there, which is nice stuff indeed. It's Craig R then, who's back after a sabbatical last week. Then he missed the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. I think one of the few that were probably glad they missed the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, especially if they were in gold or silver, because Plotters has retired as well. I'm not quite sure if he had a quali ban or not, but we'll find out in the comment section, I'm sure. But there we go then. Craig R back onto the track then here in Yas Marina. And away we go then. Good luck, Silver, says Kiki in the comment section. Hello, and good luck to the drivers as well from Kaz, who is reserving in the McLaren. And we will see how they all fare then. 20 drivers around this fantastic circuit then. It was a pretty good race last night from Gold. Then if you watch that, it will go back and watch it then, of course, after the silver race, that is. But it was a very good race indeed then in Gold last night around this well, newly formed circuit then, but one that we're already accustomed to, I think. Although there's a few bumps and scrapes to be had around the circuit, as I'm sure the Gold drivers found out yesterday, but I'm sure the silver drivers will find out tonight as well then. So they will have to keep it clean then, keep it mean and clean at the same time. And keep it keen if you want to rhyme a bit more then. But there you go, as Craig R then will be sending us on our way here in qualifying car number 42. Then the Ferrari then around the final quarter to start off his first flying lap, the first flying lap here in qualifying tonight then. As it stands, like I was saying, Mags then, who has got a qualifying ban in the other Ferrari, then is starting from P20, I think, depending on whoever else retires behind him or ahead of him, that is. But hopefully everyone else can get time in then. But unfortunately for Mags, then he is the championship leader, but he is now starting from the back of the field then with a qualifying ban then for no footage last round, which is a big shame indeed then, because Mags then is quite a fan favourite for the pole positions most races. Unfortunately, not going to be claiming one here tonight then, as Craig R flies down the back straight towards the Sector 2 chicane. And let's see how he can negotiate this in his Ferrari. Looking good indeed so far along this first lap here in qualifying. Like I said, Mags then takes the lead in the championship, and I think we've got Dylan then in P. Sorry, I thought we had a yellow flag. We have got a yellow flag. It's just for cars getting themselves sorted then. But yeah, Dylan in P2 in the standings in the McLaren then. He is on track as well then, and hoping to get some points then over his rival, his championship rival, then the championship leader then of Mags as well then. And then we have, unfortunately, we've got, I think, Farf then in P3, which is not good news. Hopefully that gets itself sorted, because we don't want to see him that high up. But yeah, anyway, can't say too much good things about Farf then. But yeah, there we go. As Farf then is going to be taking us away then in the Haas, of course, later on in this race, hopefully, as Craig R then sets a 22.9 to get us underway here in qualifying. Good stuff indeed then. We've got an Aston Martin. It's R2B just starting off a lap then, so it's not going to be him crossing the line next in anger, that is. Where is the rest of the grid then? I need to find them quickly before they cross the line. Pot stuff is on an out lap as well then, so we've got a Williams, I think, crossing the line of Dopey Lemons next, as he is into the hotel section of Sector 3 then. This isn't the most technical part of the circuit, of course, and one that can cause a few treacherous spins and loss of back ends, you could say, especially at that corner there, the Latifi corner, and Williams then for Dopey Lemons, and thankfully he didn't have to repeat the feat then of Go Tifi, that is. Of course, if you've got the membership for ALR, you can use the Go Tifi emoji in the comment section. 23.1 then from Dopey Lemons, then 23.7 for Jenna. Dylan goes faster still with a 22.5, then puts himself into pole position as it stands. Of course, only 4 drivers have set a time so far in this qualifying. Kamara race, and then into the 22s as well. Then 22.9 for the Alfa Romeo driver, looking to get his form off the quali really, and into the races. Of course, he's not had a great season so far then in terms of getting the points together, unfortunately for the Alfa Romeo driver. But he has looked very exceptional in qualifying for sure. Mr. Elite then into the 23.3s with P5, then Ultimate Beast though with a 22.4, puts himself into pole position, then displaces Dylan by a 1/10 of a second. Looking strong in the Red Bull car at the moment, and could we see some Red Bull dominance here in the Yas Marina circuit tonight then. Looking good so far. Then R2 beat the 24.2, then just sending his sights, I think, in qualifying here. Mumford then coming down the back straight. Who's going to be furthest along then is Fanjo into Sector 3. It's Pot Stuff coming through the hotel section. We'll stay on board with pot stuff then in the Alpine, then going very wide then at the Latifi corner, or the German corner as Sean was calling it yesterday. So of course we saw in season 2 of Silver then there was quite a few, well, quite an incident there with German then, who went off the track. Then 22.9 for Potstuff, puts himself onto the second row of the grid here as it stands then. Good stuff so far. Who have we got then? We've got Qualiban for Plotters as well, unfortunately. So that is why he is retired in the pit lanes for 2 Qualibans then for the retired drivers then as it stands. Unfortunately, Gordo has said he had a pineapple and now my tongue is stinging. So that is bad news for Gordo, as completely missed it whilst looking at the comment section. But Fandro then with a 22.3 puts himself on the top step. Mumford then, after a fantastic podium in Saudi Arabia last week, is into P4 with a 22.7. They're looking strong indeed in the AlphaTauri. Can he get his season into gear and get some more points under his belt? Then here's the Mercedes team. I think there's a bit of a tow going on there with Mr. Elite and Gordo as we go into sector 3 then for Gordo. That's good stuff indeed, good teamwork indeed then between the Mercedes pair as Gordo then flies through into sector 3. We've got Vessia who's just started a lap, then we're right on board with Gordo as he finishes off his sector 3, his first lap here in qualifying. 13.5 minutes, 11 and a half minutes remain here of qualifying as we go through the penultimate corner, then the final corner then for Gordo. Let's see what car number 3 can do. Reflection is retired as well then. I think he is in the pit lane also. Then here comes Gordo up to the line. It's a 23.2 then for the Mercedes driver. That puts himself just ahead of his teammate then by just over a tenth, or just under a tenth of a second as well then. So both the Mercedes in the top 10 as it stands. Good stuff. Vessia unfortunately is invalidated at the time, so that is Vessia done and dusted in qualifying. Craig R has done a 22.8 then, looking good for Craig R. Both Kamara and Craig R, I think, need to try and turn their race performances around. Then they've done a great job in qualifying in the races. They've been flying up there in the qualifying, but unfortunately just hasn't materialised in the race itself. Then hopefully that can change here in Abu Dhabi tonight then for the pair, as we will wait and see, of course, with bated breath as we wait and we look forward to the race itself. Then 10 minutes to go as qualifying then. So far there is 3 drivers out of qualifying already. Then that is Plotters, that is Reflection, that is Mags as well. Then 2 with the qualifying ban. Not quite sure what Reflection is up to, but he has lost his car keys in the garage. That is Mags cousin here. I can't understand, sorry. He's doing very well. Yes, good stuff indeed. Yes, he is. He's doing very well. He's the championship leader, then he's Mags, and he will hopefully be able to get himself back in the points then in the latter parts of this race as well, then maybe even earlier on than that. But we'll see what he can do then as Vessia starts off another lap here to try and get himself a first lap time on the board, as he has struggled then in his first outing around this circuit as well. Then let's see what he can do then on his second attempt. Evening all from Rocket Lisa as well. Good luck to Silver, as can you give a shout out for Bear Grylls? I can give a shout out to Bear Grylls, but yeah, fair enough. I mean, what a guy. Yeah, great stuff indeed. There we go. Good luck from Gordo as well. Then me and Mag on the same amount of poles this season, says Kiki. I am not sure. I have no idea what the pole record is, to be fair. I think Mags is, I don't think actually Mags has got too many pole positions. He didn't start off the season then in the he didn't start off the season getting pole positions. That is, I think it was Dylan then and the likes of Fanjo, the likes of Ultra Beast there was in the fight then for pole positions, even Nigel as well. But I think Kiki then probably holds the record in so far then for pole positions then. But can you convert from pole position to the race? That is the question. Kiki then has had some struggles then in bronze and in the 100% leader, but he has turned that form around recently. So looking forward to seeing what he can do tomorrow night then in bronze as well. Then quite a few quartet then as well in bronze then, looking for that podium pole position place. Of course, with the likes of Kiki, Brooksy and Jay Hings then in the fight. Then those are the top 3 in the standings for bronze. I've spoiled it already for tomorrow. Sorry, Sean. But yeah, that will be that then. Up to the line for Vessia, then it's P6, then 22.9, then just ahead by only 23 thousandths of a second, then ahead of his teammate, which is his first time on the board here tonight as well. Then 8 minutes left of the qualifying then. Let's go Silvers from Smithy then in the comment section, and he is of course hoping for a nice clean race this one. I did jinx it last week by saying that it was going to be a nice clean race as well then in Saudi Arabia then, but who's going to have a nice clean race in Saudi Arabia? That is madness to assume that's going to be the case, but hopefully this time it is more correct then as we go into sector 3 then with Dopey Lemons, and let's see what Dopey Lemons can do. He's had a bit of a difficult season as well then, bit of an upturn in form is required then for the Williams pair, and we've got Fanja then currently on pole position. Then he's looking strong then in the Williams then, of course, getting that full-time seat then after Irish New Rotator unfortunately had to drop out. so that he has been replaced by Fandra, who is going to be, I think, looking quite strong then in the Williams car. So far, so good for the Williams, of course. Currently, they're both in the top 10 as well. Here comes Dopey Lemons round the final corner. Can he improve even further, then get himself up into the top 10 further as well? Then he's staying. No, he doesn't. He drops down. He has improved by a 10th and a half, but not enough then to get himself back in the top 10 there, just ahead of Pot Stuff. Pot Stuff is back out on track, I should say, in P10 as it stands as well. Then we've just seen Nigel jumping up the order then, 22-4 then from the former champion then, and he has got himself onto the front row of the grid as it stands as well. Then only, what is that, not even half a tenth of a second behind Fandra. Then that is a formidable time then from Nigel then, who is looking strong here in Abu Dhabi. He needs to try and turn his form around, and especially in qualifying he's struggled in the last few races then, and that has helped, well, not helped him, it's hampered him in the races because of course he's got more of the field to try and get through as well at the end there. But he has got himself that one final point for the fastest lap in Saudi Arabia. Then after a difficult race as well, then Dylan coming back out on track, and he's improved to a 22.5. He is in P4 as it stands there. Kamara Racer completely missed his time there, but he's improved to P5 with a 22.6. Then the time's tumbling down here in qualifying, and just there you saw that the Kamara that invalidated his time going into pit lane. I think if you go over the curb on the right hand side when you enter the pit lane, that gives you a warning, and that is of course a track invalidation in qualifying, but also a warning then in the game, in the race, that is, from the game as well then. So that is what you need to avoid then, going too far, going over the curb on the right hand side. Then when you enter the pit lane, that is where it is giving people a bit too many warnings that we don't really want. As there we go, the same thing for Irvine there, just in the that he goes over the curb then, and that has invalidated his time. But that is just showing that is where the unwarranted warnings are really. Of course, if you have your race director and all of your warnings shown, then at the end of the Grand Prix we can take penalties away, of course, afterwards as well. Then we've just had Favre jump up to P11 then in the Haas then, so one Haas in P2, one Haas in P11. Then R2P coming back to the pit lane has abandoned his second attempt, I think, there, and back into the box. And Kaz is coming out of the pit lane then for his first attempt here as well then, as we get ourselves back on the way. Here comes Craig R then onto the back straight then, flying down towards sector 3 now. And we will see what he can do. Goes purple in sector 2. That is promising indeed. Then he's a 10th up on his time. That will put him in the range then of Jinnah then and of Mumford, who've done identical times. I completely missed that. The P6 and P7 currently on a 22.720. Both of them a piece then, so nothing separates them, of course, but I think it's just based on who did the lap time first. But I'm not going to quote that because, of course, that could be wrong as well, to be fair. Into the final couple of corners comes Craig Arthur, and he's flying through. Then let's see what he can do. Can he improve? Can he get himself even further up the order? Then here he comes in the Ferrari up to the line. It's P5 then with a fantastic movement over 2/2 of a second. Then a 22.604. Then puts himself P5 ahead of Kamara Racer as well as the pair on the same time. That is so good stuff indeed. Then he gains 3 places then with that lap. Then he's still got time to come back round and go back out again as well. Here comes Ultimate Beast then through the sector 2 chicane, and looking strong indeed. Let's see what he's doing on the delta times as he crossed the line into sector 3. Is he going to be up on his time? That's the question really, as he is half a 10th up on his time. That will put him ahead of Dylan. It could put him in the range then of pole position as well. Then this could be close indeed then for Ultimate Beast, and he's flying through sector 3 now. Can he hold it all together then as we go into the hotel section then on to his 3rd attempt here in qualifying? Can he get himself on pole position? The Red Bull then is looking strong out here as well. We go through the Latifi corner then with no problems at all as we head into the final corner now. Ultimate Beast needs to gain half a 10th of a second then to get himself on pole position. Can he do that is the question. He unfortunately loses out in the 3rd sector, and that is well, that's a bit of a shame then, because we thought he was going to go for pole position potentially. He was very close away, close to getting that pole position as well, especially if he kept on his pace there from sector 2, and he's shown that he's got the pace there. So as well, if he can go back round again, then he could improve then to that P1 position. Then it's not too far away for Ultimate Beast. Let's see what he can do then on his next attempt. Then we've got 3 minutes left of the qualifying here as Kamara then flies through turns 2 and 3 on his next outing here. Evening all, and good luck from Serious Mushroom, and evening Mushroom from Gordo, and good luck to Gordo as well then from Mushroom. So there's all sorts going on there. As in the comment section, there's on the track as well then is Kamara Racer almost losing the car then as he comes down onto the back straight, I should say. Then unfortunately they're the Alfa Romeo, they're very unsettled then on the power, and that has cost him his lap, I think. Then I think he's abandoned his time has Kamara, unfortunately for the Alfa Romeo team. Here comes Jinnah. Then Jinnah is on a lap as well then. Let's see what the Aston Martin driving Dugan P8 currently as it stands then, but of course he's on the identical time for Mumford, so if he can gain 1,000 a second, then he could get himself into P7 at least. Which is good stuff indeed. But will he be able to do that? Of course, we'll have to find out over this lap, then over the curve, then on the exit of the chicane, then and a bit more over the curve as well. Then, unfortunately, I think I might unsettle the car a bit too much, do you know there? But we'll have to wait and see what's he doing in Sector 2. Is he up on his time? Then he is almost a tenth of a second up. That is going to be very good indeed. That will put him in the range then of P5 with Craig R. He's off the circuit though. That's lost. He's lost the car. Then he's lost the car. He's got himself. Well, he saved himself, thankfully, from going into the wall of any much pace there. But thankfully for Jinnah, then I think he's been able to escape the blushes then and can get himself back to the pit lane. But unfortunately, that has cost him his lap here. He's got time to go back round again, I think. If he's got time to get himself back in the pit lane, there's a slow Alpha Tower then with Mumford just getting out of the way, I think, of Dylan, who is, no, it's not Dylan, it's the other one, it's Kaz, who is in P17 as it stands as well. Then he is flying through into Sector 3. Fanjo goes faster still. Fanjo with a 22-0, then almost into the 21s then for Fanjo. Looking great indeed in the Williams then on his first full-time appearance as well. Then he has reserved in the Williams, but he has not, well, he has now got himself a full-time seat then in that car as well then. Good stuff indeed, as we've got all sorts of action going on back of the field then. I'm not quite sure what's going on there. I think Kaz coming out back to the pit lane then. Nigel just setting off on a lap as well. Then same for Mumford as well. Then we'll come back to that because we've got Dylan. Dylan is abandoned his lap time. Then he's coming back to the pit lane is Dylan as well. Then that is him done and dusted. I think in qualifying he's not time to go back out. He's going to be starting no higher than P4. Ultimate Beast, I think, is coming out of the pit lane. He might just have enough time to get himself round then on his outlap. Though it's going to be very tight indeed. Then Craig R also retires in the pit lane. He is done and dusted. Then that is Craig R down out of qualifying as Kamara Racers flying through into the hotel section. Unfortunately, that is not the best racing line, I don't think there, and I don't think that is going to be that's going to be improving his time, unfortunately, as well. Then Kamara Racer going back to the pits as well. Then he has abandoned his time. Also, as Irvine sets off on his next lap, then Vessi has also set off as well. Then Dopey Lemons is in. Where is he? He's at the hairpin then of Sector 1 now into Sector 2. We'll come back to him then. Let's have a look and see what Nigel's up to. There's a tow then from half into Sector 3. Didn't see what the Delta was saying then for Nigel. Can he get himself on pole position? He needs to gain 3.5 tenths or so on the Williams, well, on his previous lap then, of course, not on the Williams then, but he needs to get himself over 3.5 tenths or so of an improvement on this lap then to get himself into the range. And Jinnah is retired as well. Same for Kamara Racer then. Nigel has invalidated his time as he goes into the Latifi corner, and I think that's him done and dusted. Here comes Mumford then up to the line. What can Mumford do? Can he improve? He can improve to P5 then, 10.5 improvement then from the where is he? The AlphaTauri driver, that is. R2 then crosses the line. He stays P16. He has improved by half a second though. That's good stuff indeed. We'll come back to all of that then because we've got more action coming up along. We've got a Williams car coming through of Dopey Lemons and 4 tenths up on his time. That would be very good stuff if he can hold on to it up to the line. It's P8 then from Dopey Lemons. Good stuff indeed. A great improvement and almost into the range of P5 as well. Then that would be looking very good indeed then for the Williams team. Then Irvine unfortunately has his time. Where is the next driver to cross the line? I think it was Vessia. Then he's finished his lap time. He's 13th then here in qualifying. Red Bull of Irvine back into the pit lane and he's done and dusted in qualifying as well. Then that is him done and dusted. We've got Potstaff coming through then. Potstaff not having a great time out there as it stands. Can he improve enough then in this next lap then around the final corner then for the Alpine as he comes up to the line? What's it going to be? It's a 22-2. What an improvement in stuff indeed. He's got himself on the front row of the grid. Great qualifying then on his final attempt then. Gordo then is coming back to the pit lane. He is done and dusted. He's P15. Mr. Elite is invalidated his time. Here comes Far flying through as well then. Far then he needs to improve then to get himself into the top 10 to fight with his teammate of Nigel. Then across the Latifi corner we go then into the final couple of corners. Then the ERS light flashing away then on the back of that Haas then as we go through the final corner then up to the line for Farf. Then it's P5 then, his best qualifying then of the season so far. RTB improves to P15. We've got a Red Bull in the background then of Ultimate Beast. Then he stays P4 and I think that's qualifying done and dusted, to be fair. Yes, it is there. Mumford is coming back to the pit lane, so that is qualifying finished here in the Abu Dhabi, for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. That was pretty good stuff indeed at the end there. I couldn't keep up, to be fair. So well done indeed then to all the drivers then who got themselves across the line, that is. Fangio then takes pole position then with a 22.083. Then he is 0.2 of a second ahead of second place Pot Stuff. Nigel in P3 rounds off your top three. Then that is formidable stuff indeed then from the top three. We will wait and see then the classification then fully of the qualifying here. But great stuff from the qualifying here in Abu Dhabi. Let's see what the race is going to unfold like in the next few minutes or so, the next couple of minutes or so. It won't be too long. We'll get ourselves through the classification then of the qualifying and get our drivers then around the formation lap and back racing as quickly as possible, that is. Fandra then takes pole position as well, front row then for Potstuff as well. Then great improvement then on that final lap. Then he was really down the field and P14, P15 I think at one point. Nigel then in P3, Ultimate Beast P4, Fast P5 is best qualifying, like I said. Dylan down in P6, then unfortunately didn't get a final lap time in. Mumford in P7, Craig R P8, Camaro P9, Dopey Lemons rounds off the top 10, then Jinner in P11, then Irvine P12, Mr. Elite in P13, Vessia P14, R2 P15, Gordo P16, and Kaz P17. Unfortunately, Plotters then and Mags then had a qualifying ban, and Reflection lost his car keys somewhere along there, so unfortunately he couldn't take part in qualifying either. But there you go, that is your grid then for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix.
BoxBox Hub is an absolute essential for any Formula One fan, and the entire app with new widgets, statistics, localized race schedules, and countdowns, you name it. They even have support for Apple's new live activities feature with real-time updates during a race right on the lock screen, and honestly, some of the best looking widgets I've seen.
Right then, we are back underway. We are ready to get going then. Formation lap, of course, to unfold very first. And we will, of course, get ourselves through that as quickly as possible then. But, of course, the racing action then will be coming up in just over a formation lap's time. There we go then. This is your starting order. And look at that then. Everybody on the hard compound tyres, apart from 4 who are on the medium compound tyres. No softs in sight here at the opening stages then of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix here in silver. And we've got Ginger Rage in the comments saying, good to see Beast back up there as well then. Some ramming coming from Beast, says Serious Mushroom. Who doesn't love a good ram then, says Ginger Rage then. Well, I can't comment on my Friday nights, but there you go. But there we are. So then everyone on the hard compound tyres apart from P10, Dopey Lemons in the Williams, then he's on the medium compound tyres. Same for Mr. Elite then in P13 in the Mercedes. Gordo, his teammate, then also on the medium. So both Mercedes going for a fast start here compared to those on the hard compound. Mags from P20 with his qualifying ban. The championship leader starting on the medium compound tyres from the back of the grid then. Let's see how that's going to unfold then for those 4 drivers. Then can the rest of the drivers in the hard compound tyres hold them off then in the first few laps? And we will wait and see. But so far we have got well, going to go for a long stint then on the first stint. It looks like for most of the grid then they're going for a very leisurely first stint then and a very fast-paced final stint. I'm not quite sure it's going to hold up that way because I'm pretty sure they're going to go fast at every stage or at every stint. But there we go then. That is how the silver grid is going to unfold then for the start of this Grand Prix. We've got, of course, Fandra then on the front of the grid then. Pole position, of course, for the Williams car then on his first full-time appearance here this season. Looking strong in Abu Dhabi here tonight. Then Potstuff in P2 is on the front row of the grid, and he is looking strong here as well. Then he did a great job then in qualifying there on that final run. Then Nigel in P3 also looking to try and regain his championship form then, and maybe fight then for a few more points than he was familiar with in the last race. Then of course he only got 1 point in the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Looking to turn that around here in Abu Dhabi. Whichever one you want to call it. Right there, we'll get ourselves lined up on the grid then for the start of this race. 29 laps to unfold here in Yas Marina, and we will get ourselves racing very, very shortly once all the drivers then are parked up on the grid. Good stuff indeed. I think we're ready to get going. Good stuff. Right, everyone's parked up then. We are ready to start off here in Abu Dhabi then. The 5 ray lights coming on here in Yas Marina. The 5 ray lights are off in Yas Marina, and away we go for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, round 10 of Silver Season 7. Here we go then into towards turn 1. Then Fangio takes the lead. He keeps hold of the lead, I should say, as we go into turn 1 then. Very good stuff indeed. We'll need to switch to position changes then quickly so we can see what's going on around the grid. Then Dopey Lemon's losing out then on the medium compact tyres. He's not had a great start then, even on the mediums. Then Ultimate Beast has got himself past Nigel for P3 then. The Haas is now all over each other then as we go in towards turn 4 and into the hairpin we go then of sector 2 now. Flying through then, as it looks like everyone's got through unscathed, thankfully, so far anyway. I don't want to jinx it, but there we go. So far, a good start then. Ultimate Beast is going to place, and he's got himself ahead of the Haas of Nigel, then into P3, then into the podium places then for the Beast, for the Rebel, I should say, as we go through the chicane. Then once again, this is where it could get spicy indeed. Then the spicy chicane indeed. There's contact between Kamara Racer and a Mercedes of Mr. Elite. I think there. Mumford is down the field as well. Then he's got himself back underway. Then I'm not quite sure, as Kamara Racer looked to go into the back then of the Mercedes, it looked like there. Nigel got himself back past Ultimate Beast, then back into the fight then for the podium places. Then unfortunately for Ultimate Beast dropping outside. Then Max was already up. Max is already up into the top 10. And there's a Ferrari of Craig R off the circuit. Then in the background, then he's gone into the back of the wall. He's gone back into the wall, I should say. Then as that car has lost the back end through the hairpin there. Unfortunately for the Ferrari of Craig R, then he's down 12 places. He started in P8. Unfortunately, not had like I was saying in the qualifying, not having a great race so far. Same for Kamara Racer then, as yellow flags in the background again for Craig R. Then as Fangio sets the fastest lap of the race, we're on the way here in great style indeed. Vess here in the pit lane already. I'm not quite sure what's happened to Vess here. Then we'll have a look and see, as he is, what is he doing there? We'll have to come back to him. Craig R is still struggling to get the car around the hotel section there, and I'm not quite sure what's happened to Craig R, as he's retired then on the circuit as well. Then Kamara Racer is also retired. It's a safety car then, as Vess here then has got a wing change. That is why Vessia then is into the pit lane, so I'm not quite sure what happened. The safety car has been deployed then on lap 2, and blimey, if we thought it was going to carry on from Saudi Arabia, then looks like it already is then. That safety car for Kamara Racer, then the Kamara Racer has left the session. He's already out then at the end of lap 1. Craig R retired then in the hotel section somewhere as well then, so I'm not quite sure what's happened to Craig R then. Both the drivers, like I was saying, that were struggling in the race, as I'm not quite sure what's happening with Kaz there as well. Both the drivers, like I said, were struggling in the race pace there, but looking good in qualifying. Craig R and Kamara Racer out of the Grand Prix before we finish lap 2, which unfortunately is not good news then for those two. But there we go. They broke my wing as someone spun in front, said Gordo. So Gordo needs to get himself into the box. I think he's gained 7 places though, but this safety car is a good opportunity to get himself into the box and not lose too much time to his rivals as well then. Will we see some more pit activity then from the race leaders? We've got quite a few on the hard compound tyres. I think they might be looking to soldier on then. Mags is up to P8 then from P20 then on the first lap then. It was a great start indeed from Mags, but this is looking very strong indeed to try and cement his championship charge then. Fangio then looking to go into the pit lane, but thinking twice about it. Then into the pits comes somebody. It is Dylan then into the box then as well. He's gone over the curve then on the right hand side, so that'll be a warning for him as well from the game, which is lovely stuff indeed. Gordo into the pits as well to sort that out front wing, as Dylan into the pit lane to get himself off the hard compound tyres and onto a set of medium compound. So interesting strategy call there. I'm not quite sure how it's going to unfold then for the rest of the race, but we will see. Of course, we will find out. So there we go then. We've got 4 stoppers then so far. Kaz is in the pit lane as well. Then his teammate of Dylan, of course, into the pits as well. Then for Kaz, onto a set of medium compound tyres. Also, not Dopey 11. Sorry, Vessia then is coming onto the main straight. Then can he get himself back ahead of Kaz? I think he can. Into P17. But of course, that is the grid so far. We've got 2 retirements then, both at different points of the first lap, but both on the first lap. Well, actually, to be fair, Kamara Racer I think made it to the second lap, but he was stranded at the exit of turn 1. Then was the Alfa Romeo car, and the Ferrari of Craig R didn't make it through the hotel section. Unfortunately, then I think he had rear wing damage. Then did Craig R, as he was struggling to get the car back round the circuit, especially through sector 3, which is a bit technical indeed. With a rear wing damage, I think that might have been quite difficult indeed. But we'll have to wait and see. Medium for Dylan, says Ginger Rage in the comment section. That is his strategy call then. So the strategist then is Ginger Rage, and I never thought I would say that, but the strategist there in the comment section is Ginger Rage, and he is calling the shots then, and he's gone for medium to the end of the race for Dylan, potentially for Vessia and for Kaz as well then, and maybe the same for Mr. Elite. Mr. Elite hasn't been, of course, so Mr. Elite might have to come to the box again for a different tyre, not the medium compound there. So good stuff indeed. Thank God I caught that before Ginger Rage caught it as well. But there we are then. Fandra then is still leading the way then, so we'll get ourselves hopefully restarted very quickly indeed. We have got, what have we got? We've got 3 laps complete now as we cross the line then in the with the safety car then leading us away then. Unfortunately, it wasn't a lap 1 safety car, it was a lap 1 and a bit really. It was lap 2 technically, as back in the pit. He comes back into the pit lane. I'm not quite sure what's happening to Gordo again. Potentially going on to a medium compound tyre again, but yeah, not quite sure what the strategy is there for Gordo. He's on the hard compound tyre. He's going to run long then in this next stint then, but he's decided to go for he's on for another wing change then, is Gordo. So I'm not quite sure what is happening then for the Mercedes team. They're having a few struggles out there, it looks like, to get the wing replaced. But thankfully, I think this time they have got themselves sorted now. Good stuff indeed. And somebody said he'd be DQ'd. Dylan there started on the hard compound tyres, so he would not be DQ'd if he does medium to the end of the Grand Prix from here. So that is A-OK then from Dylan's point of view. Unfortunately, he's not where he wants to be really. He's down in P15 as it stands then, but can he get himself back through the grid? Can he get himself back through the field then in this next stint? And maybe he starts to fight then, of course, if he's going to be getting himself in the range then of the current race leaders. That is Fandro, that's Potstuff, that's Nigel. Then potentially he can get himself back into podium places as well. We'll have to wait and see. Right, I think we'll be restarting at the end of this lap, which is going to be good stuff indeed. I'm not quite sure what Kaz and Gordo were up to down the back of the field there, but there we are then. That is not helpful at all then, because they're just holding everybody up now. But fingers crossed we'll be back racing here at the end of this lap then. Gordo is going to join up to the back of the queue quickly enough. Safety car is coming in this lap then, so Fandro now is the de facto safety car leader, and he can lead us away once again then for the restart of this Grand Prix. Good stuff indeed. Oh, sorry, my phone's all wobbly. Bear me 1 second whilst I get this sorted. My phone is not working. Bear me 1 second. My stream. There we are. I'm back. Good stuff. Right then, just in time for the restart then, and away goes Fandro then. A very early restart this time, which is nice to see compared to the Saudi Arabian restarts from Mags. I have to name drop him unfortunately there, but there we go. As away we are for lap 5 now. On to lap 5, of course. The good thing about this for all the drivers on the hard compound tyres is they extended the tyre life slightly more then with that safety car as well then. So they can go a bit longer than in their first stint potentially than they were planning to potentially as well then. No, so it's a target plus 2, plus 3, something like that potentially as well. Then we'll have to wait and see how they do and what they do as well in terms of the strategy as well. Then on to lap 5 we go then. Fandro then of course leads the way. There's a problem then for a Ferrari in the background there. There's Mags going off the field, out of the back of the field. Then he's dropped down to P18. I'm not sure there was any helping hand there. It didn't look like it. And Nigel's got himself past Potstuff then in that fracas. He's got himself up into P2 then and chasing after Fandro now as well then in the Haas. Good stuff indeed so far from Nigel. Unfortunately there's all sorts of things going on through the chicane here as well. Then Mr. Elite and Mumford are backing away then. There's there's a Mercedes, a teammate of Gordo there, muscled his way past Mr. Elite as well. Elbows out then from the Mercedes pair as into P14 goes Gordo, getting himself past Mumford as well. Then Mumford then is on the hard compound tyres, so he's going to be a bit slower at this stage. There's an Alpine off the circuit then. His reflection had an issue. He's lost the front wing as well then. It's a virtual safety car. He's come on right in front of Mags then, but the virtual safety car has been deployed then for the Alpine, and it went off then. We did say the hairpin was a bit of a problematic corner then, but it doesn't look like anybody in silver has yielded the warning. So there we go then. Unfortunately for Reflection, he is the next victim then. So we saw, oh dear, oh he's... thought he was out of the race then. But oh, blimey, no, we saw Craig R then having an issue then at the hairpin as well. Then on the first lap, which is where he DNF'd as well. Reflection has got himself back to the box then, which is at least lucky, I suppose you could say then. Maybe the lack of qualifying didn't help him then, as we get ourselves nullified once again. To be fair, we're not back underway just yet. Then we're still waiting for the VSC to go away. Reflection is onto a set of medium compound tyres now as well, then onto a new wing as well then, I should say, as back underway goes the Alpine then. Unfortunately, that VSC then has cost him a bit of time then as well. Then, of course, he's now down the back of the field. Then he's coming back to the pit lane now. But he's going to be a long way back compared to his rivals, of course, on fresher tyres, though. So that could help him get himself back in the fight. Potentially, that is his Reflection there, just exits the pit lane now. VSC still out then. It's been quite a while, this VSC. As with the order license point, that man takes no nonsense. And as there we go then into lap 6 we go. Then we've had a safety car and a VSC so far. Silver then are trying to carry on, I think, from Saudi Arabia as well. Reflection picks up a drive-through penalty for speeding under the VSC as well. Then the VSC is back underway. We're racing once again. We're back underway properly, that is. Dylan gets himself back into the points then ahead of R2B then on those medium compound tyres. Like Ginger Age was saying in the comment section, he thinks that Dylan is on the best strategy then to potentially get himself back in the fight here as we go through into Sector 3 once again. Then hopefully we can calm down and have a good race for the rest of this one as well now as we get ourselves onto lap 7 now. DRS is going to be enabled, of course. The VSC doesn't impact the 2 lap thingy after the safety car, whatever rule that is. But there we go then. Of course, it will be changed in the next game to I think 1 lap, isn't it? So 1 lap then from the race start, and then of course 1 lap then for any safety cars after that as well then. So that is going to be very interesting indeed. Then here comes Farf then all over the back of Ultimate Beast into the hairpin of Sector 2. And at the moment then we are back on the way. Then Reflection is coming back to the pit lane. I think we're going to have to serve that drive-through penalty very shortly. Potentially, if there is another safety car, that would help Reflection get himself back into the race as well. Then Vessia then is right on the back now of Dylan. It's Dylan there all over the back of Plotters. Then into P9 goes the McLaren. Then on the medium compound tyres, he's flying at this stage. He's got himself down the inside, then into the chicane, then, and he's got himself up into P9 ahead now of the AlphaTauri driver. Good stuff indeed. In front we've got a Williams, and I think it was a Williams then. No, it's not. It's an Alpine then of pot stuff. Getting himself past Nigel, then up into P2 as Dylan gets himself round the outside of Irvine, then into Sector 3 as well. Then up into P8 now for Dylan. Plotters and Vessia battling away. Then Plotters and Vessia side by side. Then into Sector 3. This is going to get dangerous indeed. Then medium compound tyres. Oh my goodness! I thought there was going to be contact there into Sector 3, but thankfully they managed to get themselves free without any incident, which is great stuff indeed. Much better for myself and my heart as well. Favre is all over the back of Ultimate Beast. I think he's trying to get himself past then to help Nigel, then protect Nigel then from the Red Bull car. Fangio sets the fastest lap of the race, then he's speeding off in the distance. 1.2 is the gap. Then Dylan sets the fastest lap of the race. Dylan is getting himself back in this one very quickly indeed on those fresh medium compound tyres, which is just what he needs to do, of course. That fastest lap point, of course, currently with them has got a Jenner then off the circuit. Jenner's had a spin at turn 3. It's another VSC. And back underway then as Jenner gets himself back onto the circuit as well. Then yellow flags then are fluttering as well. We go through turn 3. Then Jenner is back on the circuit. Then there's no front wing though for the Aston Martin car. And this is what you see is pushing too hard, I suppose you could say, which is actually to be fair something that I did in turn 3 last night. But yeah, unfortunately with Jenner that has cost him a front wing as well. Then that VSC, next VSC is out then. Unfortunately for Reflection, it's not a full course caution then, because I thought he would have been very happy with that. Then if he can get himself back into the fight then as well. Then as we go into the chicane then we've got the VSC out as well. Gillen then has caught the second VSC of the night then with that front wing damage then for the Aston Martin driver. Then being a bit of a shame then two VSCs I think for just front wing damage. Then it was a Reflection as well, didn't he? I think he had a VSC for his wing damage as well. Then same for Ginner here as well then. And it's not looking too good, unfortunately. Hammer Time is in the comment section. Good evening to Hammer Time. Back once again then. He is, of course, a returning veteran then. I think it was Cobalt was Hammer Time's outing then, back in, whenever that was. That was a long time ago, wasn't it, Cobalt? But if you remember that, then you are definitely an ALR veteran. But fair play to Hammer Time, then he is back once again. And hopefully he can come back to some racing as well. Then we'd love to see Hammer Time back on the grid. But there we go then. Here we go then. We've got some action then. What's going on already then on the restart then? Plotters Plotters has got himself past Gordon then, and R2 Beat has lost out then to Mumford as well. Both the AlphaTauris making moves then as the VSC gets away. Jenner is into the pit lane then as well then, so unfortunately for Jenner he's going to have to serve that, well not serve that, he's not going to serve anything, he's going to have to get that wing change is what I mean, but unfortunately for Jenner then he's going to put him down the back of the field then at this stage. Potentially we will see him come back through the field as well then, same for Reflection as well then. If there's any safety cars as well, those two will be brought back into the fight as we go down the back straight now. Nigel got Jinner on the brain unfortunately there, but Nigel then coming down the back straight then on the attack then with Pot Stuff. Can he go down the inside then into the chicane? Not quite, then he stays behind then. Beast is almost pushing him through, as so is Favre as well then, all over the back of the Red Bull car as well, and on the bit of loss of traction then for the Red Bull car. And now here comes Favre then, can he get himself through? They're going to go side by side down here. This is going to get tense indeed. Then there is the Red Bull then right next to us here as we go into sector 3. It's close indeed as well then, as round the outside goes Beast. Can he hold the precision? No, not quite. Then Favre gets ahead. Then here comes Pot Stuff and Nigel as well ahead of us too, as there's all sorts of action here as well. Into sector 3 we go side by side then. Nigel's got the inside. Pot Stuff now has the inside for the next part of the hotel section. He's got himself back into P2. And blimey, that was good fighting indeed then. Favre now all over the back of his teammate as well then, as the fighting between Pot Stuff and Nigel then has really cost them time then to, especially to Fangio then. He's now over 2 seconds in front in the lead. He is stretching his legs out there as well. We're not going to see much of Fangio then, unfortunately, as we same for Glocks, like in Saudi Arabia then. He was over 11 seconds ahead at the end of the race as well. But there we go then. Here comes Pot Stuff and he's now back ahead of Nigel as well. And Nigel's losing time already. I think he may have been pushing too hard then. There's no ERS there in the tank then for the Haas then. Carnival on track. But he is still within DRS range then of the Alpine. Yellow flags then for Jinner then, who is off the circuit at the Latifi corner. He's got himself back underway now as well, but unfortunately not going his way at this stage of the race for the Aston Martin then. Nigel then is still within DRS range there, but Favre might be lining up a move then for that podium place then back in the back of the field. We've got more yellow flags then, I think, with Jinner again, as Mumford and Plotters switching places then. Dopey Lemons and Vessier then. Vessier up into P7 then, getting a good traction then on the medium compound tyres. Jinner is once again off the having an issue at the back of the field. Then he's got himself back underway. Favre and Nigel switching places now. Favre up into the podium places, which is bad news indeed, especially if we have to interview him as well. Jinner is retired in the pit lane. He is done and dusted here in the race. That is 3 retirements already then on 10 laps. Unfortunately for Silver, not looking too good out there at this stage there, but hopefully they can get themselves sorted then in the rest of the race. So far so good then for the 17 that remain. Reflection still powering on as well, then hopefully he can get himself back in the Grand Prix as well then, especially if there's a late safety car as well. But he's on fresher tyres as well. That will negate the gap then in the next few laps or so, as the other drivers ahead of him start to drop off then on their mediums and hards, that is. Right then, so far Dylan there up into P6 now. He's all over the back of Ultimate Beast then, who's losing time then to the Hassans now, as Nigel's let his teammate go through now, and Favre I think is going to be pulling the train along here, as Jinner's car then is all over the place then. I think Jinner's car then trying to get himself sorted and out of the way then, but hopefully that doesn't cause any more issues. Yeah, that's not great at all then, that is, unfortunately. Nigel, I think, has lost out to his teammate then. The DRS there is not going to be available then for the second of the Haas cars on track. That is Dopey Lemons has got himself past Vessier for P7. Once again, these two are fighting around then. There's all sorts of action in the background with Dylan and Nigel. Then as we go into the chicane, around the outside goes the McLaren. Then it looks like he's got the position. Has he? Yes, he has. They're going to be close on exit then, but here we go. Then there's contact between the two championship contenders as well then, as we get ourselves back underway, then back onto the back straight, that is, as Nigel then without any ERS then is struggling out here as well. Then here we go then into sector 3, and there's a Williams there, a Dopey Lemons there. I didn't see him coming, but he's now around the outside. Can he hold it is the question. Nigel's almost lost the car, and he is struggling out there. Is Nigel now at this stage? Then Vessier's got himself past Dopey Lemons there with that opportune move. Then into sector 3 we go, then side by side. Then Dopey Lemons backs out there, very wise indeed from the Williams car, then thinking about his front wing and his race as a whole rather than that one corner, and he has get himself in the race with that, because I think that would have been very dangerous indeed then, as up in the background was a Mercedes of Gordo. I think that was very dangerous stuff from New Gordo as well, as there's all sorts of twitching going on then for all the cars, and I think the medium compound tyres then are starting to get to the end of their best life now. Favre then is checked out, then he's got a 1.3 second gap then to Ultimate Beast, then he's down in P4. He is now trying to line up a move then for P2 here in the Haas then. So far so good for one Haas now. Unfortunately Nigel then he's dropping off the field then, dropping off the back I should say then, as we go into the hairpin. Once again he's still within DRS range of Dylan there, but he's struggling now is Nigel with that lack of ERS as well. I need a new helmet, says Serious Mushroom. Then what happened with Kamara? Then Kamara didn't get didn't get spin. Said to Serious Mushroom. He said he got spun. He didn't get spun. I think he just lost the car then at the exit of turn 1. Then on the beginning of lap 2, as Mags and Kaz are battling away. Then into where was that? Into the chicane as well. Then Mags has got himself ahead there into P15 for the time being. That is as well. Then Vessia then up into P6. Then Farf and Potstaff switching places. Then into the hairpin of sector 3 we go. Then and almost I think there's contact there as well. Then Farf then up into P2. Then ahead now of the Alpine car. Then Dylan up into P4. Then Dylan is looking good here on those medium compound tyres. He is flying through. Then is Dylan. Not much ERS to play with as well, but I think there's quite a few out there with lots of ERS issues as it stands. As we go through the hotel section once again, and he's now within DRS range of the podium sitters as it stands as well. Then Dylan looking good here after that strategy call. Then Ginger Rage might have called it right then in the commentary box, in the comment section. As blimey, that would be a first time for everything, wouldn't it? As there we go, then down the main straight we go. Then lap 13 of 29, we're almost at the halfway point. Then Mr. Elite into the box, and he's called it there on the medium compound tyres. I think this is where we might see the medium start to falter as well. Then so maybe going onto the hard compound tyres from here would be a good call. Then onto the hard goes the Mercedes driver, so he is heeding the warning, and he is onto a fresh set of hard compound tyres. Then away he goes. We might see that might trigger some stops now as well, then especially for the medium runners. As it stands, we've got 12 laps for Dopey Lemons, 9 laps for Gordo, 10 laps for Dylan, 12 for Max, then and 10 for Kaz. As Reflection is on much fresher medium compound tyres after making that early stop. Then Vessia has got himself past Ultimate Beast, then into the chicane we go. Then Vessia now up into P5, chasing down Dylan as well. Then trying to keep up with Dylan as well, of course, on those medium compound tyres. So far, so good. Right then. As far from Potstaff there resuming their battle. Then Potstaff back ahead now of the Haas car. Then into P2, into sector 3, around the outside. He's got the position then. And now they've got a 1.7 second gap. As Potstaff's gone wide. What's happened here? As Farf now trying to go around the outside, then into sector 3. I think he's backed off. Then he thinks wisely about it and keeps his head on his shoulders. And maybe not necessarily. We thought we were going to go for a dive bomb there, and that was definitely not a call for going for a dive bomb. But he has lost out. Then he's down to P2 as Fanjo picks up a penalty. The race leader has got a 3-second penalty, and that is going to be very costly indeed. Then, if that stands, of course, there might be some warnings that might get removed then with pit lane entries and whatnot. But into the pits comes Ultimate Beast as well. He's called it a day then on 13 lap old hard compound tyres, so he's calling it down the hards already. Then his Ultimate Beast. Then that's an interesting call as well for the Red Bull car. But there we go then. Fanjo then with a 3-second penalty. That we had to his race time then. Of course, it could be removed then depending on the pit entry warnings and whatever, because there's all sorts of things going on with this Dhabi circuit. But of course, if you've got your race director and you've got the footage then of your warnings as well, then just in the footage of all your race director, really, to be fair, of showing us where the warnings were earned. But that is all you need really. Yeah, if you can show that, then of course then he can get that 3-second penalty removed, and providing he's only got 3 warnings throughout the whole race. Jenner has left the session, then unfortunately Jenner is out of the Grand Prix. Then he is unfortunately not taking part anymore. Same for Jenner, and same for Kamara and for Craig R, I should say. Then here comes Nigel then on Gordo, or is it Gordo on Nigel then as we go down the back straight then towards sector 3. There's contact between the two cars then, I think, as Gordo then has got the position. He's dived ahead then of the Haas. Into P7 goes Gordo. He's got much fresher medium compound tyres than Dopey Lemons as well. Then Reflection picks up a 3-second penalty for his troubles as well. He is now only 18 seconds off the field after that VSC then and the drive-through penalty then for Reflection. There he's got himself back in the fight almost, with more pit stops to come then for the drivers ahead of him as well. Then as Potstaff then is down to P4. Then Dylan's got himself into the podium places. Into the pits comes Potstaff. Then Potstaff calling it there very early on as well. So this could be triggering some undercuts here, I think, then with Ultimate Beast and making the very early stop. Nigel's also in the pits, then Mags is also in the pits as well then. So there's all sorts of stops going on then, and it's not necessarily in the order you would think, because there's drivers on the hards going for mediums already. But there we go then. Ultimate Beast coming around the final quarter then. I think he's going to get himself ahead then of the pair of the trio, who just pitted. Ultimate Beast coming down the main straight now. Purple in sector 3 as well. That is going to be very good news for his mechanics then, and for himself then in the box seat, that is. But now into P11 then. He of course is on the freshest tyres of those who have pitted then recently, or scheduled stops I should say. Dopey Lemons and Gordo now switching places. Then Gordo up into P5. Then Plot will take himself past Irvine now as well into P7 there. Good stuff indeed. Good chuff. Good stuff indeed then. I'm not going to go that far. But there we are then. Dylan now all over the back of Favre. Can Dylan get himself into P2 here and try and challenge himself then for the next podium places? Of course, he's doing a great job then after making that stop under the safety car initially at the beginning of this race. Then they're close indeed then, but side by side then Dylan there. Oh, as close as well then between Favre and Dylan as we go into sector 3. The Favre holds on to P2 for the time being, that is. I'm a strategy genius, says Ginger Age. Yes, of course. Kamara got hit, says the Ginger Age. Oh, didn't notice that. I thought he had spun then at the exit of turn 1, which is very possible indeed. Then into the pits comes Favre and Dylan. Then both of them fighting over the pit entry, it looks like, as well. Fangio also in the pits from the lead of the Grand Prix. Vessier carries on though. Vessier is soldering on those medium compact tyres. So is Gordo. So is Dopey Lemons as they carry on then in this next stint then. Plotters is just outside of DRS range then of the top 3 as it stands. That's going to be compromising himself to Irvine as well, who might fly past him down the straight. Then Mumford, P6, R2 Pete soldering on as well on those hard compact tyres into P7 now. Fangio coming out the pit lane. Where is he going to come out in relation to Beast though? Beast is coming through turn 2. It's going to be close indeed between the two of them. Then this could be great stuff indeed for Beast. Then can he get himself in the range of a net race lead? Not quite though, but he's in DRS range now of Fangio, which is a great stuff indeed. That undercut then has really helped him get himself past those he was battling as well, and now into the range then of Fangio, who of course has got that 3-second penalty that might be added on to his race time at the end of the Grand Prix. Here comes Beast then, he's on the attack then for the net race lead, then P8 then on the track then, but net race lead of course with the pit stop still to come for those ahead of him as well. They're into P1 into P8, but net P1 like I keep saying. Irvine's got himself passed into P4 as well. Now Irvine's had some good races around here. Let's see what he can do. Can he repeat the feat then for the Red Bull team? Ultimate Beast has got himself past the Williams of Fangio now into sector 3, and Fangio stays behind. Dylan and Favre are resuming their battle now after the stops as well. Then Dylan up into P11 now ahead of the Haas car then, but both of them on the same tyres, same freshness of tyre, and I think they'll be on the same tyres then for the rest of the Grand Prix. As, oh my goodness, I thought Favre was going to go for a move there, but he was so close all over the back of that diffuser then. Into the pits comes Irvine there. I thought he had an issue then, but Bess is also in the pit lane as well. Plotters carries on then. Mumford into the pits as well then, so they've called it a day then. There's yellow flags out there for somebody. It's R2 Beat. R2 Beat's had an issue in the pit entry. I'm not quite sure what happened to R2 Beat there. He is into the box, then Nigel sets the fastest lap of the race. Then Nigel is really pushing on, then trying to get himself back in the fight. Then he's all over the back of Mr. Elite, who has pitted for the hard compound tyres, but is now, I think, holding up the Haas car on the medium compound tyre as we go through turn 2 and 3. Then he's all over the back of the diffuser of the Mercedes as we fly down towards the hairpin as well. Then can we see a Max Verstappen-esque dive bomb? Not quite though. Around the outside this time goes Nigel, and then instead of the inside, then Dopey Lemons has got himself back ahead of Gordo as we go into the chicane. Then this is the fight for the race lead as it stands. Of course, it's not the net race lead as it stands, unfortunately. But there we go. Then Favre and Dylan battling away. Then Gordo's got himself back past Dopey Lemons as we go down towards sector 3 once again. Then Plotters then waiting in the wings. Then Fangio then back up into P4 now, which is of course the net race lead. Ultimate Beast there, P5 then right behind him as well. Then Potts clinging on. Can he hold on to that DRS range? Just about. Then he's just outside of it as it stands. Favre and Dylan resuming their battle now. Favre back ahead of Dylan as Dylan now into the Haas sandwich then of Favre and Nigel as it stands as well. Then good stuff, great stuff indeed. What a lovely sandwich to be in. There we go. So thinking of sandwiches now, I'm getting hungry. But right then, so far so good. Then here comes Gordo. He's in the pit lane now and called it a day. Then finally on those medium compound tyres. We're going to go to the soft compound tyres here. We might see some soft compound tyres being thrown on to the cars very shortly. We've only got we've got 12 laps to go then. Medium compound tyres once again then from Gordo. So Gordo going for a more conservative next stint then. Of course those tyres will hopefully get to the end of the Grand Prix compared to the softs, which may struggle towards the end. We'll have to wait and see. We might see the likes of Dopey Lemons and Plotters then, who are the last two to pit then, potentially go to the soft compound tyres very soon. Gordo coming out the pit then, he's going to be down in P14 then, but he's going to be on the freshest. He's not going to be on the freshest tyres actually, because Mumford is on. He's on old tyres, Gordo somehow. He's on 2-lap old tyres, which is not too bad. But the likes of Mumford and Irvine and Vessier then are all on fresher tyres than Gordo somehow. Not quite sure how that's worked out then in the garage. Maybe they've got the wrong compound for the Mercedes driver. Then we'll have to wait and see then after the race. But there we go. Then Dylan stays behind Favre then into the chicane. Then lap 18 of 59 has commenced. as Irvine and Glocks then, or Irvine and Mag, sorry, battling away. Then Irvine up into P11 now on those medium compound tyres, getting himself past the championship leader, who is down in P12 as it stands. Then he is not looking too good then for the big points here tonight. And unfortunately, so far for Mags. Then can that turn around? We will wait and see. Then Dylan and Favre are still in the battle then, as they are going side by side all over the place. Then it looks like Favre stays ahead now, as they are losing time then to Pot Stuff and to Ultimate Beast then ahead of him. Beast has dropped off the back of Fandra. Then he's 2 seconds behind the former race leader now, as into the pits comes Dopey 11. He's calling it finally then on those medium compound tyres. 18 laps then on the medium compound for the Williams car. I think he'd be going on to soft compound tyres, I'm pretty sure, at the end of this pit stop. Ultimate Beast then up into P3, then back up into P3 now as well. Then Pot Stuff though all over the back of him here as well as we go through turns 2 and 3. Then Dopey Lemons is onto the hard compound tyres, which is I'm not quite sure what the strategy is there from the Williams driver there, but nonetheless he will definitely be able to get to the end of the Grand Prix from there on those hard compounds. I would have thought the softs would have been the strategy to go for there, but perhaps not. Maybe he knows something that I don't, but there we go then. He is back out in P14. He's got a 4-second gap to Gorda then, who is going to be on the fresher medium compound tyres. Here comes Pot Stuff, then he's got himself past the Red Bull of Ultimate Beast, then into P3, into the final podium place as it stands as well then. Can he keep himself within that 3-second window then of Fanjo, who of course is going to have that 3-second window added onto his race time? Potentially it could be costly. We don't know yet. Of course that could have been for pit entry, which of course will be removed, as we've seen quite a few glitches when with pit entry, then giving out warnings then for nothing really. Yeah, that of course will be reviewed after the race. If that was the case, that is. If it's 3 warnings for track limits, then that of course will stand then as well. So there we go then. That could be dangerous stuff indeed. If Fanjo has picked up those warnings as well, then we will wait and see after the race. Then it could be a steward's room decision rather than anything else. Then here comes Plotters, then he's going to start off lap 20. He's carrying on then on those hard compound tyres. Interesting stuff indeed. No hards, no Dopey going soft then for Serious Russian, but he's gone for the hards in the comment section as well then. Same for me on my screen, so that is promising stuff indeed. My eyesight is still working. Fandra now is all over the back then of Plotters then as well. He's going to get the helping of DRS down the back straight, which is going to be very good indeed then to extend that gap to 3 seconds to Ultimate Beast. Then it's currently 2.6 then. Fandra, can he hold on to the pace then and remove the issue then of that 3-second penalty? I'm pretty sure he's got some good pace then in that Williams car. Then he's got the lead back of the Grand Prix as well then, as Plotters gets out of the way. Then of course he is yet to pit then is the AlphaTauri. Then Potstuff gets himself past Beast, then up into P3 as we go down into the chicane then onto lap 20 of 29. So far so good then. Vessia and Mr. Elite, they're battling away then into the chicane as well. Then Vessia now up into P8 then on those medium compound tyres, ahead now of the Mercedes driver Irvine, waiting in the wings I think as well. Then here comes Irvine. He's got a great traction out of that chicane as well, and he's going to go side by side with Mr. Elite. Then he's past Mr. Elite then as well then on the medium compound tyres. Great stuff indeed. Vessia's electrical energy light is flashing away then, that red light at the back of the diffuser then for the Alfa Romeo. Then he's showing that he's not got much ERS to play with as we go through into sector 3 then. Good stuff indeed. Favre then all over the back of Dylan now, as Dylan has got himself shaken off the battle I think there from the Haas for the time being, that is. They've now got themselves into the range then as Plotters picks up a penalty then. I think that again was the pit lane pit entry warning, so of course that can be reviewed then after the race, so it's not all done and dusted. I think Plotters going to the soft compound tyres now as well then, as they filter through. Then we've got 2 Haas's then, P5 and P6 then. Nigel then is a bit of no man's land as it stands then. He's 2.5 seconds off his teammate in P5 then, but he's now got 3.3 seconds back to Vessia as well then in P7, so he's in a bit of a no man's land as it stands as well. Then like I said, Plotters coming out the pit lane now. Where's he going to come out in relation to R2 Pete then? It's going to be close indeed I think, with Plotters coming out through into the pit exit now at turn 3. He's ahead of the Aston Martin P14 as it stands as well. Then of course that 3-second minute I think was picked up into the pit entry, so if he has 3 warnings at the end of the Grand Prix, 1 warning can be removed for that pit entry of course, which is why we need your race directors and your warnings as well, that sort of thing. Mumford and Mags then battling away then into the chicane. That's close indeed. Then Mags has got himself through for P9. Then Dylan has got himself past Beast into P3 as Beast there is trying to hold off Favre as well. Then round the outside goes the Red Bull car. He's lost out I think to Favre, has he? Yes he has. He's lost out 2 positions then into the hairpin there as well. Then as we go late on the brakes then there's contact between the Red Bull and the Haas, and back onto the circuit we go. Then Reflection picks up a penalty as well. Then unfortunately for Reflection, hopefully Reflection is holding on then and can go for that fastest lap point at the end of the Grand Prix. Then Beast there making contact with Farf then into the hotel section there, and I think that's costing the DRS as it stands then to the Haas driver as well. Then bad news indeed. Out in front, then it's 2.9 seconds the gap then to Fangio. Fangio then is going to try and get that gap over 3 seconds then to negate the issue then of that 3 second penalty that he picked up then at the I think it might have been the pit entries, but I'm not quite sure. Into the pit's going to score him. He's only done 6 laps on the top outside, but he's calling it a day already then to score. I'm not quite sure what's happening then for the Mercedes driver. Then has he got another wing damage? No, it's just a soft compound tyre going on that car. I would have to say an interesting strategy call there, indeed. But nonetheless, he is underway. Reflection's got a set of medium compound tyres back on that car. Here comes Dylan then for the fight for P2 now. Can he get himself into that P2 position? It would be a great recovery race, this one, for Dylan, if he can get himself in that range then, because of course he was at one point in P15 in the opening stages of this race. Of course, with the earlier stop as well. Then here comes the McLaren then on the outside of the Alpine. And can he hold the place then? Can he hold the place into into the hairpin, I should say. Then he's got the move, then he's up into P2. And away he goes. Vessier then he's got himself past Vessier. Oh, it's close indeed. Vessier and Irvine battling with him. And Vessier gets ahead now of the Red Bull car, then into P7, then P8, I should say, for Irvine. But still looking good in this race so far. Blimey, I'm getting out of breath at this stage. And Dopey must brutalise his tyres, says Ginger Rage. And I think he's referring to Dopey Lemons pitting from the medium compound tyres to the hards instead of the softs. They're only about 2 or 3 laps ago now. But time has flown. There we are. Right then, Ultimate Beast is now under pressure. The Ultimate Beast has had an issue then, because Nigel's now all over the back of him as well. Then Ultimate Beast was only 1 second off Farf now, but he's now 3.5 seconds behind, and not quite sure if Beast is struggling out there or not, but he's having a few issues, it looks like, on that last lap. Then Farf and Potstuff battling away then into the hairpin, then a nice undercut there from a nice switchback, I should say, then from Farf. Can he hold the position? That is the question. As we go down the back straight, or down the main, back straight, whichever straight you want to call it. As they're going to go side by side through here, and Dylan is going to be very worried about this in his wing mirrors as well. Then Favre gets ahead there. Oh, there's going to be contact. There is contact. And Favre too deep on the brakes there as well. And Dylan's unsettled the car then. And now he's all over the back. Then is Favre then on the back of the McLaren as well as we go down the back straight towards sector 3. As let's see what's going to happen here. Then Favre then is lining up the move. Then he's going to go around the outside then of the McLaren. Then he is around the outside of the McLaren up into P2 then. But very naughty indeed. Then I think it's going to be very frowned upon indeed. And I will give him 20 seconds of penalties. There we go. Might put himself past Beast. As Beast is starting to struggle, I think, on those medium compound tyres. As Plotters has got himself up into P12. Then only, what is that? Then it's about 6 seconds off the top 10 as it stands then for the AlphaTauri driver. With those soft compound tyres, can he get himself back into range then of the points paying positions? We'll have to wait and see then. So far so good then. See on the fresher tyres, the faster tyres, he is flying through. But of course he's got a lot of time to make up then, especially with that penalty is going to stand as well. That 3 second penalty that he picked up then, I think it was pit entry. So we will have to look at that then after the race. Dylan now all over the back of Favre then, as Plotters does set the fastest lap of the race. Then that is of course going to be a point for himself and the AlphaTauri team, should he hold on to that point, and that is at the end of lap 29. And so far it is going the AlphaTauri's way then. But here comes Dylan now on the back of Favre. Can he return the favour then and give Favre a nice little nudge out of the way? Because I think that would be fantastic. Gordo sets the fastest lap of the race. Then Gordo there going for that extra point as well then. So Gordo's got it in his hands on lap 24 or lap 23 for Gordo. As we go into the chicane now as well then. Here we go then, all over the back end of the Haas. There goes the McLaren, but he's not made any contact this time, which is well, not this time. Favre made the contact before, so he's not made any contact, and that shows that there we go then. Go into sector 3. Trying to go around the outside then is Dylan then in the McLaren. Then he's got the move, has he? Yes, he does. He has round the outside of Favre. Great move indeed. Well held between both drivers as well then, to avoid any spins as well. And up into P2 goes the McLaren now as well. Good stuff indeed. Irvine and Beast, they're battling with, and Irvine has got himself ahead of his teammate now. I'm not quite sure if Beast is struggling out there, but Irvine now up into P6 there. And those older medium compound tyres, I think, are starting to struggle now for Ultimate Beast as we go into the hotel section now as well. Vessier all over the back here. Here comes Mags as well on the hard compound tyres, and Mumford also in the fight too as we go through the final corner. Then into lap 25 we go then, and Vessier all over the back of him. He's going to go side by side down the main straight. I think there is Vessier then. He thinks twice about it, I think, into turn 1, but it is getting very tight indeed then between those 4 then. Mumford then in the fight as well as we go through turns 2 and 3 now, and I think this is where we're seeing the difference in tyre compound as well. We only got 3 laps difference there between the drivers then of Irvine and for Vessier, but and the same for Mumford as well then, but they're all over the back then, clawing at the back then of that Red Bull car then, who was flashing away then as well then to show he's not got any electrical energy to play with. Is he within range then of his teammate with DRS? They're not quite, unfortunately. Then here comes Vessia now down the back straight, then he's got the move then for P7, then up into the into the Red Bull sandwich we go then, as we've seen quite a few drivers in that Red Bull sandwich this far in this race, but so far so good then for Vessia, and he's got himself into the range of Irvine, into the DRS range of Irvine as well then, which is very promising stuff for him as well. Into the hairpin we go, sector 3. Fast, I thought was lining up a move there, but not quite, as I'm getting very, very sweaty out here. But there we are then. It is very, very humid in Abu Dhabi, I imagine. Right then, as Mags has got himself past Beast as well, then these two battling away now as well, side by side, and Mags then is ahead then. Beast is struggling on those medium compound tyres then. Unfortunately for Beast then, it's not looking good then. It could be we could be able to hold on to the final points pen position then at this stage, but it's going to be very close indeed then. And unfortunately for Beast then, they seem to, I'm not quite sure if it's the tyres then, or if it's something else that's holding back the Red Bull car then. He's looked formidable then in the qualifying and in the early stages of this race as well. Lap 26 now, as we've got moves already then, as Mumford has got himself through then into P9 already down the main straight. Not quite sure if Beast is just letting him through then for some DRS potentially. We will wait and see then, but unfortunately for Beast then, he's really having a few issues out there, and hopefully he can coach the car back to the finish line then. But we might see him pit for some maybe pit for some soft compound tyres to go for that fastest lap point as well. Then we'll have to wait and see then, but he's really struggling out there unfortunately for the Red Bull car. The other Red Bull of Irvine then is trying to hold back Vessia now as we go down the back straight as well. Then here comes Vessia then on the attack into the chicane. He thinks better of it. He stays behind for the time being. Then Reflection picks up another 3-second penalty. Unfortunately, Reflection, he's done a very fair job of soldiering on in this race. Mr. Elite and Dopey Lemons then battling away. Dopey Lemons then has got himself past the Mercedes, I think. Has he? Yes, he has. And now Mr. Elite going to fight back then down the back straight. Then the RS light flashing away then for the Mercedes as well. Then this is showing that he's not got a lot of battery power to fight with. As into the hairpin we go. Then Plotters and ultimately he's now battling away. Then Plotters now up into P10. And of course that penalty that we saw him pick up then at the pit entry might be removed at the end of the Grand Prix, providing he's got his race director. So that could mean that the end of the points pen positions there for Ultimate Beast. And as it stands as well then, unfortunately for Ultimate Beast, he's really struggling out there. I'm not quite sure what's happening to Beast then. He's really having a few issues out there, but he's still going at this stage. He's into the pits now as well. So I think he might be going for those soft compound tyres for that fastest lap point at the end of the race as well. Then unfortunately for Beast, not quite sure what's happening there for Beast. He was really having a few issues in that last few laps or so. Out in front, it's now 6 seconds the gap then to Fanjo. Fanjo then is checking out in the distance at this stage. And driver of the day poll is out in the comment section. Vessia, Fanjo, Dylan and Mags are your candidates. Then we'll have a look at the position changes very briefly as well then. As there they are then. Fanjo has not gained a place, then of course he got himself on pole position then, and he has breezed away so far in this final stint. Then 6 seconds is the gap. Then Dylan has got 4 places again as well. Then Favre 2 places. Then I'm not quite sure what we got here, because Vessia then is up 8 places now. Then he's got himself ahead now of Irvine. There's contact there as well, as Irvine has dropped down to P7. Then dropped down. Well, he's only gained 5. He's gained 5 places still, but he's dropped down to P7 there with that whatever that was with Vessia. Mags then up 12 places, of course, starting from the back of the field with his qualifying ban as well. Then here he comes on the outside then of the Red Bull of Irvine. He can't quite make the move just yet. Then Irvine holds the position, does he? Yes, he does so far. But now Mags has got the outside then for the next couple of corners. And here we go then, side by side. There's contact between the two, and then they're banging wheels. Then as Irvine has got himself ahead now, has he? Now Mags is going down the inside. Then this is not where you want to be overtaking really, because it's treacherous as it is on your own. But they've got themselves through unscathed somehow. That was great racing between the two of them there. I think very hard racing between the two of them, but very fair at the same time. Losing to cover enough space and losing to cover enough room on the track as well then. But Irvine then has gained 4 places now, unfortunately after being passed by Vessia and by Max. There we go then, as Plotters has gained 8 places there, but of course he has got that penalty then. Potentially that could save Dopey Levens. They get himself back in the points pen positions. RT beating him to pit lane as well, and I think going for the fastest lap on the Grand Prix as well. And RT back in the pit as well, so I'm not quite sure what's happening to Ultimate Beast, and he's having a few issues out there. Like I was saying, Gordo's back in the pit lane. A lot of drivers going for the fastest lap point here, which is good to see then, because they've soldiered on in this Grand Prix. Here comes Pot Stuff all over the back of Farf now as we go into the chicane, then making sure he slows the car down. Yeah, just about. Then I thought Farf was going to swipe that front wing off the Alpine, but not quite. Thankfully, that is. Farf then is battling Potstuff for the final podium place then. Dylan could also be in the fight then, but we will wait and see. These three are going to be battling all the way to the checkered flag. I think this is going to be very tight indeed. Then Vander can just sit back and relax now. At this stage, he's got a 7-second gap then to the rest of the field as it stands. Mags now all over the back of Vessia for that final, or not for the final, but for that P6 position, which would be a good recovery race then after that qualifying ban for the Ferrari driver. The championship leader then is looking to try and get as many points as he can then to minimise the damage then to his rivals then of Dylan, to Nigel and to Farf. And of course now to Fanjo as well then, who's going to be storming up the field very quickly indeed if he keeps up the pace that he's got at this stage of the race. Or this stage of the season, I should say. But there we go then into the final turn then to start off lap 29 of 29 here as we get ourselves underway for the final lap into turn 1. I thought Max was lining up a move then, but he thought better of it as well then, which is good stuff. Farf now is going to try and charge up the battery and then get himself after Dylan. Can he get himself past Dylan then for P2? As it stands, it's looking quite close indeed between these three as we go into the hairpin as well. Nigel now up into P5. He has lost 2 places then from the starting order then, but he is now he's quite comfortable at the moment, but he could be under pressure then from Mags then. If Mags can get a good speed down this straight, then here we go then on to the final lap then as we go down the straight. DRS enabled, then there's an Irvine, there's a Red Bull flying down the back straight as well then into the chicane we go, and there's yellow flags in the background as well. It's for Gordo. Gordo's had an issue then at the back of the field then, unfortunately for Gordo then, I think pushing on that fastest lap then. Here we go then in the top of the field then, we've got into sector 3 then. Dylan holds on to P2, Potstuff stays P4, Farf P3, here comes Mags round the outside of Vessia. Vessia going to go trying defensive down the inside then. Here we go then round the outside for the championship leader. Can he hold on to the position? He can. He's got himself into P6 now, up 14 places for Mags. Great stuff indeed, and he's held on to that position as well then. We'll come back to that now because here comes Fanjo then on his first full-time appearance in the Williams here this season. He crosses the line to win the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. A fantastic race there from Fanjo then. It looked like he might be in jeopardy with that penalty potentially at the end then, but no such luck then for his rival. Then he takes the win here in Abu Dhabi with a fantastic pace, a fantastic style as well then. Great stuff for Fanjo in the Williams. Dylan takes P2 then, just ahead of Farf then. Good stuff indeed. Potstuff has unfortunately lost out of the podium then by only 0.2 of a second. Then P4 for Potstuff then. Nigel P5, Mags in P6 then. Good recovery from Mags. P7 for Vessia then. P8 for Irvine, Mumford in P9. Dopey Lemons gets the final points pen position. Great stuff indeed. I think that might be a penalty removal for Plotters though. We'll have to wait and see. Mr. Elite P12, I should say. Then Kaz going to come across the line in P13, but I think R2 Beat is going to get that position. Then he is P13 is R2 Beat. Kaz P14. Ultimate Beast is going to cross the line in P15, potentially going to go for the fastest lap point. Then we'll have to wait and see as he crosses the start-finish line now. ERS light flashing away, then up to the line. Then for Ultimate Beast, it's not the fastest lap. It's P15 for him. Gordo crosses the line then in P16. He has got the fastest lap as Gordo. Great stuff indeed after that spin as well. Reflection there having a few issues as well through the hotel section as Kaz has left the session. But blimey, what a race that is there. Great stuff indeed. A great finish indeed as well then. Not for Fandro though. He was quite comfortable in the race lead, but it was a great race then at the end as well then. The after the safety cars have got themselves sorted out, I think it was like it was from lap 9 or so onwards. We had 2 VSCs and a safety car, didn't we? But they've got themselves out of the system now as well, and a great race here in Abu Dhabi as well then. To round off round 10 then for Silver Season 7. We will get the interviews underway very shortly. Get your votes and then your last minute votes then for Driver of the Day. Then you've got Vessia, Fanjo, Dylan and Mags then are your candidates for Driver of the Day. Then 2 Irishmen on the podium then, as we've got Fanjo who takes the race win on his first full-time appearance here in Silver Season 7. Dylan in P2 then in the McLaren then, and Farf unfortunately in P3 in the house. Driver of the Day is closed. Now Vessia wins your Driver of the Day poll then with 50% of the vote. Great stuff indeed. Well done to the Alfa Romeo driver then in P7, I think it was in the end. There is the podium celebrations. They're underway as we wait for the drivers to join us in the gantry then for the podium celebrations. Podium interviews, I should say. We're not celebrating down here. But there we go. Then that is your classification then for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix round 10 of Silver Season 7. In a week's time, we are in Australia. So tune in for that one. Of course, this is going to be following the F1 calendar as well. Of course, Australia is coming up then this weekend in real life. Fandro then takes the win then. Dylan P2, Farf in P3, Potstuff P4, Nigel P5, Mags in P6, Vessia P7, Irvine P8, then Mumford in P9, and Dopey Lemons rounds off the top 10. Great stuff indeed. Then Plotters in P11, just outside the top 10. Mr. Elite in P12, R2 Beat P13, Kaz P14, Ultimate Beast in P15, Gordo P16, but fastest lap then for Gordo. Great stuff indeed then. Reflection P17, unfortunately for Gino in P18, he retired from the race, and same for Kamara in P19 and Craig R in P20 as well. That was pretty quick. Blimey, I feel like I'm a horse race commentator or something like that. But there we go. Right then, I think we've got. Bear with me 1 second. I think we've got the interviews underway. We will try and get ourselves sorted then for the interview section. As nope, I can't do that. Where am I going? Hold on 1 second whilst I get the interview sorted. Bear me 1 sec. Why have I not got that? Oh, we'll just do it this way then, unfortunately. So yeah, sorry about that. But we've got our race winner, I think, of Fanjo then in the comment section. Not in the comment section, in the comments box, I should say. Fanjo, how was that race for yourself then? You absolutely stormed it, and you did a brilliant job then.
Yeah, cheers, thanks. I kind of surprised myself, really. I kind of hopped on there. I hadn't done any practice, so I was happy to manage to get pole. So yeah, happy out.
And you really just had a quite comfortable end to the race, to be fair, there as well. It was well, it seemed like you were cruising, to be fair, at the end there. Did you have any issues then did you think you were going to have any issues, I should say, with the drivers around you then, or especially in the first stint then, or did you just try and keep the race, or keep it to yourself and keep your own race, run your own race, I should say. So we've got that sorted now. So yeah, run your own race there and then try and get yourself to the end, or did you think you were going to cruise away in the end there as well?
Well, I knew when I saw everyone starting hard, I was quite alright. That's quite good for me. But then I had to keep an eye on Dylan because he pitted under the safety car for the medium, so I knew he'd be a threat coming towards the end. But I think the main thing was just when I pitted, getting through Ultimate Beast and getting out of the DRS zone, and then from then it was just hoping Farth would battle with Dylan the whole time and stop him from catching me. And like, I know Farth won't give an interview or whatever, so I'll just, that's what he was doing for most of the race, if anyone was wondering. But no, I kind of. I'm not interviewing him first. But yeah, once I kind of got out to 5 seconds or something, I just kind of saved my ERS and then used it in a few sporadic laps, so trying to demoralize the people behind. But yeah, from then on, the last few laps, luckily, I was just trying to keep the car on the track and not get another warning. So yeah, happy days.
And you had that 3 second penalty. I think it was it was quite early on. Then did you think it was going to be detrimental to your race then, or did you know you had the pace in your pocket then for the final stint?
Yeah, I kind of got all those warnings on the hard tires, and I kind of upped my front wing by 1 in the pit stop because I seemed to, in the last sector, always just understeer very slightly out of track limits. So I knew I had to just be a bit more careful and try and gain a bit of time somewhere else. So yeah, it was just about limiting those warnings, and then I knew it'd be all right.
Great stuff indeed, and your first full-time appearance and in the Silver Season 7 and in the Williams as well, and you got the win. So pole position and the win. Unfortunately, not the Grand Slam with the fastest lap.
No, unfortunately
didn't that as well in the end. But well done to yourself. Then a great victory here in Abu Dhabi. Then for Fanjo, then he takes the win in the Williams. Then good stuff. We've got, I believe, another Irishman. Then we've got Dylan in P2. Dylan, I think you had an eventful race, let's say, but you made an early call then to go onto the medium compact tires. I think it was lap 2 or 3 really onto the from the hards to the mediums. Then very early on. Then did that help you in your race? Do you think overall, or did that hinder you?
Pretty much in hindsight, I could have gone in the first on the medians. So it's a couple of laps bit longer, but that's a strategy in case like a first early safety car comes out. So I knew the mediums very good tire around this track, so probably gamble to go on to the mediums and did well, to be quite frankly, make it back up to the order where I'm started at, and yeah, pretty much it was a gamble and it paid off in that point of view.
Yeah, it was P2 down to P15 and then back up to P2 overall for the whole race there. So you didn't lose out too much, I don't think, overall there, but you had some great battles then through the field, especially with Farth. Then can you enlighten us about your battles with Farth then? Did you like that, or did you want him to go away?
I pretty much want to go away, to be quite frankly.
That's fine. Yeah, no, we agree with that.
well.
That's fine. That's all good. So yeah, that's all you have to say for that one. But no, a fantastic race from yourself then. And of course, we've got. I should have asked Vandra as well, but we've got Australia coming up next week. What's your thoughts then for the Australian track? A bit different to this one.
Pretty much looking forward to Australia. That's a track one of the tracks I want.
Track.
Yep, my favorite track.
That's promising stuff indeed. Then good. We'll see you. We'll see you back here then in a week's time for another interview. Then.
No worries.
But well done indeed then to Dylan. Then P2 here in Abu Dhabi as well. Then we got Farf, which is going to be. This is going to be very quick. This one. But Farf, good race from yourself. Then well done.
Yeah.
And are you pleased with the podium?
Yeah.
And did you think you could have got better than P3?
Yeah.
But you didn't in the end, so unlucky.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Well, that rounds off Silver Season 7, Round 10 in Abu Dhabi. We'll be back, like I said, in a week's time for Australia. We, of course, got some more bronze action for you tomorrow night. Then that is going to be Abu Dhabi as well here in 7:30 p.m, I think it is. It should be 7:30 p.m. That's the usual time. Tomorrow night then from bronze here in Abu Dhabi as well. Then And then on the Wednesday, we've got the 100% League in Australia. Then giving you a preview then of the actual Grand Prix coming up on the weekend. And then, of course, in gold, silver and bronze from Sunday, Monday, and then Tuesday next week, we've got more Australian action then for the 3 divisions as well then. So stay tuned to ALR. There is plenty more action coming up then, and we'll see you soon.
Thunder.